So we made it through, huh? Good evening. Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Good. My apologies. My handwriting is so bad I can't read it anymore. When you read eights as nines, you know you got trouble. We'll wait just a couple more minutes because I'm sure that was more than a little bit confusing. Standing room only tonight. Thank you for all coming. 6:05. I don't want to hold you much past since you were on time and ready to go. Announcements first this week. I'm going to have some outpatient surgery tomorrow. It's hernia. It's not a big deal, but I'll probably be down and not able to sit at a desk for 3 or 4 days. So keep pumping out the work, and I'll get caught up as soon as I can. Don't worry about holding back or anything like that. You guys are doing great work. Anybody have any questions or concerns about anything that's risen this past week? Everybody loving OMA? Yeah? I think the OMA project's pretty good, personally. Mark and I had a discussion earlier this week about what an appropriate timeline would be, because my reaction has always been as long as it's the end of the semester. But for your own planning purposes, you probably should look at needing to complete a task a week for the rest of the way to have things done and ready to go. So at least one task, if not more. And since there's always a little bit of, you know how when you teach, you can't help but kind of, let's tweak this a little bit, let's tweak that a little bit. Since there's always a little bit of back and forth, definitely get them in fast. A couple of y'all have already got in task 1 and working on task 2. Congratulations.
I have a question.
Sure.
So I was looking at the OMA in task 1 and it said organizational structures.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like the principal, assistant principal, instructional facilitator, the K2? Is that what it wants?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have grade level chairs or team chairs.
And with the management routines, is that like our PBIS?
That would be one. Opening and closing, where the kids get off, don't overthink it or overdo it, but just address each part of the rubric. The one thing that people leave out the most is the participation of school personnel and especially the school improvement team in budgeting. Part of this because a lot of principals don't ever tell anybody else the budget's shown up, and they're not going to get any say in it. But even if that's the case, state that in your paper. The school improvement team is not involved with the budget at my school, or teacher input is limited to wish lists at the beginning of the year, whatever. Rather than being an integral part of the planning.
I was also looking up the like the minutes, the 90 block and stuff like that, but I couldn't find like the district. Like for the state, it gave like a couple things on the North Carolina Board of Education, like you're supposed to have da-da-da-da-da. But as far as like the 90 block things, I didn't know where to find that.
Well, put what you have, put what you use, because the way I read the law, it varies and it can be gotten around. I mean, there's schools with 6 and 7 day rotations of planning periods, elementary schools with whole days or half days of team planning and none for the rest of the week. So there's a lot of variations. Just put in what you've got. It almost certainly will be legal because each school has to file it at the beginning of the year. It all goes in electronically to the state. And you get called down if you don't have the correct hours. Okay. Are you in a middle school or elementary?
Elementary.
Okay. Yeah, which, believe it or not, you high school people, is the hardest thing to actually schedule is the elementary schedule because you got all these little 5-minute increments around lunch and PE, and it's really a nightmare. A lot more than just 4 big blocks or 8 big blocks to fill in the blanks. Any others?
With regard to tasks 2, are we essentially trying to, let's say I pulled my North Carolina school report card. Are we essentially trying to find out or lay out a path to bring those numbers up if there are issues? I'm just trying to figure out how to get started on task 2 off on the right foot.
Yeah, it's, let me read it carefully again. So that's for instructional capacity building. So what in effect you're doing is going back to your APTEL project or something along those lines and including that. See, you'll find that you do more and more cut and paste and don't feel guilty because that's the way it actually is supposed to work. That you'll take things that you've done and put them into the context of what you're doing.
Okay, so basically we can pull stuff from our APTEL.
Absolutely.
Okay.
In fact, in a perfect world, by the time you get to SIOP, you'll just go, oh, there's that part, there's that part, there's that part, there's that part done. It's not quite that simple, but not far off.
Okay.
Okay.
When I looked at the video you sent with Dr. Lamb, he said to take the first 3 tasks of the APTEL and take off the labels and put them together, and that's task 2 of the OMA.
Pretty close.
Okay, well, I was just wondering if that was the correct, because that's what he said in the video.
If Dr. Lamb said it, you know it's correct.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, basically that is really what you need to do. Remember too, as you put these things in for your final statements, you just need to have task 1, task 2, task 3 labeled, but you don't have to include all that prompt, etc. information. Because that comes off as if you've plagiarized. It'll show that a certain percentage of your work is plagiarized. I just did not have any of them. However, the evaluators have asked to put task 1, task 2, task, etc. for their sake. Okay. Anything else? Okay. I promised you when we started that this course was all about how not to get fired once you get the job. And this week is all about liability of principals. You might know anyone who's been sued in the education world? Yeah, you do? Yeah? Was it horrible? Demetria, did you have your hand up? Okay. So no one knows anyone who's been sued. Okay. Let's do a hypothetical then. Do you think that suits are always meaningful? I mean, are they always true?
I don't think they're always true, but that doesn't mean you can't be sued.
That's right. And if you don't, there's 2 things I want you to get from this semester, and one of them is today, and that is you need to be part of a professional organization that provides you with help and assistance under lawsuits. Now, if you're flat guilty, then probably no one's going to help you, but there's always all kinds of ramifications, little side things, and you want to be with some organization in whatever position you are. As long as you're a teacher, you should have NCAE or equivalent in South Carolina. As protection, as an administrator, you should be a member of the administrative wing, because you are constantly in danger of suit. And I can't say that strongly enough. And I've never been sued. In fact, I'm the only one who has. But I do know how simple and easy it would be, and I don't know how many times I've been threatened with it, which is more than 10. Because anytime you take a stance, it's amazingly how, because I always worked with pretty economically challenged students, but evidently they all have lawyers on their retainer who are ready to come to a beck and call. So, how do you prevent being sued as a principal? You're the biggest breadwinner in the school. You're in charge. Whatever happens is, frankly, your responsibility. So what do you do?
I'll float out there, first of all, to have good policies, follow the policies, and document everything.
Let's start with the district policies. How about that? Know your district policies, follow district policies, and do what you're supposed to do. Absolutely. What about in school? Carries on similarly. Have a crisis assistance plan. Have a good crisis assistance plan. Practice it. Do all the things you need to do with that. Everybody loves duty rosters, right? I mean, you love getting the duty roster and finding out you're going to be standing out on the bus lot for 6 weeks. Why are those duty rosters important?
Safety.
Yeah. Someone's got to be there. As long as if I'm your principal, and if I've posted you in a position for safety, no matter how well you do or don't do your job there, I'm really basically okay. Unless there's some compelling reason that I should know you couldn't do it. If you're on duty in the cafeteria, or let's say there's no one in the cafeteria and there's a fight.
The principal.
Yep.
Because the people aren't in their places, and that's like negligence.
What if I put Julia and Piper in there in the cafeteria, and there's a big fight, and they say stop, and that's it, and someone gets hurt? Who's liable?
I believe they are, because it said that the only way the children are liable if they know that they're going into danger and they proceed, but aren't we supposed to do something to stop them from going into?
Any other thoughts on that matter? This is a tricky one.
I didn't think that legally you were supposed to touch them. That's a really complicated area as a teacher with adults working with children, is like how much you can actually physically restrain them and touch them.
Well, we can't restrain them at all. We don't have a green card, right? So I can't do that at all. But if they know that they're going into a fight and they know that that's danger, then wouldn't they become liable, the children, if we told them to stop?
Each other and you and Julia are standing right beside them saying stop, stop.
Then I think that we're doing our job, because we have told them to stop. We have asked them to not engage, and then we contact administration and let them know what's happening and that we told them to stop, and they didn't listen.
You're right.
I don't think that we don't step in the middle of it and physically stop it.
Neither.
And the student disregards the instructions. Yeah, right. That's what.
Neither of you would be held liable, and neither would I, because I had you there. You made positive attempts to try to stop. You did not put yourself in danger. And if they chose to fight, then that becomes their issue from there on out. Okay. Now, what if during that fight you were standing over in the corner smirking and pointing at them like?
Oh, then I'm liable.
If someone saw you, you definitely are.
Well, they're going to record it on the phone. That's what's going to happen.
That's true. That's a horrible movie. Right? I mean, everything's a movie now. This is an aside. I had a group of students get mad at each other, and their mothers were mad at each other over whatever they were mad about. It's all girls too, so sorry, ladies, but you people are crazy when you fight. And they made a video of them going on the light rail from one neighborhood to the other neighborhood, jumping on the girls they didn't like, whomping. The mothers keeping anyone away from helping. The whole thing's being videotaped by one of the other mothers. One girl says, "Mama, my arm's tired." She said, "Use the other one." That was instructions. And the whole thing was on YouTube the next day. And we couldn't do a thing about it, because under the way we'd set up our rules, if everyone wanted to fight as soon as they got off the bus or on the walk home. So I told them, I felt like I was responsible for their safety until they got home, and then they became their mother's problem. So I insisted that everybody would be allowed to go home, put their book bags down, and then if they needed to fight, they could come out, and it was their business, not mine anymore. So they had all been home, and they all were with their mothers. So all we could do was watch the video and kind of cringe over the name of our school being shouted over and over and over and over and over. So you never know. What else can you get sued for at school?
negligence.
Yeah, such as.
Having a duty to act or a duty to do something and not doing it.
Yep.
For instance, if you know that a child is being abused or suspect the child is being abused and not reporting it to the appropriate folk.
Absolutely. Every county, everywhere in the United States, as far as I know, has a duty for adults, any adult, to report acts of violence or whatever against children, and that's certainly incumbent upon school people. Now, how do you go about that? Has anyone ever called in a DSS case?
I have.
You have?
Yes.
Yeah. Did the parents come? Parents come back after you?
They did, and they were awfully concerned about how he was going to be retained and all of that at that moment. But all year when I tried to contact them, they never came to a meeting, never returned a phone call. Once they suspected that somebody at the school had something to do with the person coming to their house, then they were all concerned about every single thing.
Yeah, people get to be very good parents right after the DSS car shows up at their house.
Exactly.
Yeah, I used to be a student services person here in Charlotte, and as part of that was part of my job. And I had a run-in with the principal one time because a prominent lawyer here in town had been beating his son, and his son had showed me the marks had left, and I had no choice but to call it in. My principal was mad, but the law says it doesn't matter if they're lawyers or live in the best part of town or the worst part of town. It's still abuse. Okay. So, yeah. Any other kinds of liability that you can think of that you need to be prepared to face? Safety is. Go ahead, ma'am.
I'm not sure about this one. I know a while back when I was working at a school, a teacher had been accused of touching someone inappropriately, and it ended up being in the media, and he ended up having to go to court. So I'm not sure, as far as that's concerned, about liability in the school leadership.
Okay. Who reported it? Do you know?
The child told their parent, and then the parent confronted the principal about it, and then the principal talked to the teacher, and then it went to the courts. And like you said, it was all over the news.
Yeah. The principal probably should have skipped the middleman of talking to the teacher, because one thing, and this is going back to Mark's, of following district policy. Policies do change, are a little different depending on where you are. But most districts have a policy that if there's been inappropriate touching at your school, that you go directly to your human resources department, not through the person who's been accused. And then most districts try to remove the principal from the actual investigation, because these people are your friends, they work with you. It's a really difficult call. But if it was reported to the principal and nothing happened, in fact, I think you have a discussion board question that's very similar to this towards the end of the course, then the principal could be held liable, and probably would be. That's a big no-no. As long as you're making decisions in the best interest of the safety of your children, you're probably going to be okay. When you start trying to weigh up what's right and what's wrong, and that little girl's lied so many times before, should I just skip over it because who knows whether she's telling the truth or not? That's not an option. Okay, one other I can think of that you can lose your job over. It's not really a liability, but that's the principal having relationships with staff members. That's just darn stupid. I will say that right off the bat, because that's a great way to lose your job fast. Okay. Sorry.
It's interesting you brought that up, because I read an article just this afternoon that was on Fox News where two teachers, I think in Texas, was having a relationship on campus
Mhm.
prior to the bell for school to take up. And one of the teachers' argument was that she wasn't on the clock. So she didn't understand why she was in trouble because she wasn't being paid yet. And to me, that just, I don't understand people like that. But it's on Fox News if you want to watch it or see it. It's on the internet.
I've heard some weird ones, but that's the weirdest defense I've ever heard. Oh, Lord. And I've had people have relationships in classrooms after school, and they never claimed that they weren't on the clock, and therefore it was okay. You can date a fellow teacher. You should do that away from the school building, I think. I've had teachers get married. That's, the way it goes when you have multiple genders working in school. Okay. Okay, so to conclude, safety issues first, follow district policies and procedures, create your own policies and procedures almost to the point of what foot do you step off with first. The more precise you can make them, the better off you are. And watch out for your kids above and beyond anything, okay? Back to business, Homa 1, you surely should be finished or finishing with, and Homa 2 should follow right behind. And then I think you'll find 3 and 4 drop right into place, okay? Skip won't be any more difficult because it's a conglomeration of other work as well, okay? Hope you have a good week. I hope to be able to have Zoom next week, but I will let you know one way or the other. I certainly plan to. I should be okay by next Tuesday, enough to sit up straight. So we'll take it from there. And in the meantime, you guys have great. Is everybody closed school now?
No.
4 days.
Really?
Friday.
More?
Monday.
Yeah, we have to go until next Wednesday.
Huh. I thought school was out here. Maybe it's not.
Not in the mountains of Western North Carolina. No.
Where do you teach?
I teach in Asheville at
That's where
Buncombe
I'm
County
from.
Schools.
What school do you teach?
I teach at Irwin Middle School.
Oh, Irwin. I didn't go to Irwin. I'm a cougar, but go ahead, Irwin.
So
Okay.
yeah, we got a lot of snow.
A snow always.
But you've already done your testing, right?
No, I've got the science test is tomorrow and my math 1 test is on Thursday.
Oh, I feel for you. Sorry.
Then I'm done with my testing.
Yeah, I got a plea from one of my other schools to come proctor last week, and I was forced to say, forget it, no way. Sorry, no way. Delisha, did you want to add something?
No, I was just laughing because I had to proctor I had to administer the test 3 times last year. Last week I had to do retakes too, so I know why you said no thank you.
Right. Proctoring is the worst thing in the world.
Yes, it is. We have another retake tomorrow, and I said no thank you.
Me too.
Yep. When you're trying to get an admin job, though, you need to butter up everyone you can. So
That's true.
Say no.
Yeah.
That's true.
One of our teachers actually emailed the governor and said that they're having a hard time finding proctors and invited him to come in and proctor. And his secretary said that he was busy doing other things. And we're like,
I'm sure.
Hey, it's been flooding in Western North Carolina. I'm sure you're going to check out the flood damage. You can come proctor while you're doing that.
Is your principal proctor?
The principal?
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I'm in my classroom. I'm assuming that he's not proctoring.
Yeah, no,
My principal was on the list.
It doesn't or does? Yeah, I used to proctor because we had a terrible time getting proctors, and the only person who wasn't required to proctor was the test coordinator. And we'd still run short. I have to double up and do weird things. Yeah, it's really not very realistic way to do things, especially when you have people who don't know what to do and don't know how to get involved. Okay, you have a good close of school, you guys. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you next Tuesday.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you have
Good luck with your surgery.
Yeah,
Thank
have a speedy recovery on that.
Okay. I've suddenly met a million people who've had it, and it doesn't seem to be, a real big deal. Just a couple of days down and laying around. So, my wife will just have to deal with that part. So,
Mhm.
you guys take care.
Bye.
You too. Thank you. Bye.